playing great basketball.
Defender for the master, Jason Tatum.
We'll be covering pre and post game back on this channel. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Celtics Postgame Live. I am your host, Rob Haytayan. With me is joined my co-host, Inangelo. Ian, Celtics drop a close one, kind of playing with house money tonight. 98-95 was the final score. Celtics go 0-2 in Florida this time around. C's leading scorer was Jason Tatum, 31 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. No Al, no Smart, no Brogdon, no Brown. C's down 4 starters. Heat without Jimmy Butler, however, they still had their main core intact. Bam Adebayo had himself a game, 30 points, 15 rebounds. Celtics really had no answer for him in that second half. Ian, C's led by 10 with right around 6 minutes left to play in this game. They fell apart. Kind of a throwback to last year. You know the drill. Initial thoughts, takeaways, opinions on tonight's loss in Miami.
That was the most frustrating fourth quarter I think I've seen all season.
Yeah,
I'll talk about the end of the game, but holy shit. Not even the fourth quarter. The second half of the game as a whole. The Celtics just looked like they completely forgot how to play basketball. I know you didn't have your starters. I know you didn't have Smart. I know you didn't have Brogdon. I know you didn't have Brown. I know you didn't have Horford. But holy shit, can you at least do something on the basketball court? I'm sorry for swearing.
No, you could. Go for it.
God. It's like you completely fell apart in the second half. And Jason Tatum had a great game. He had 31 points. He was a no-show in the second half. It felt like he didn't even want to shoot the ball in the second half. That was the most irritating and frustrating loss that they've had all season. And the fourth quarter, you only had 13 points. And at the end of the game, instead of calling a timeout with 20 seconds left, Jason Tatum decides, I'm just going to throw the ball into double coverage right to Tyler Hero to end the game. And, oh my fucking God. I know he was doubled the entire second half, but Tatum, you cannot do that. I know that Joe Mazzulla trusts Tatum. You have to call a timeout on that. There's no way, especially with a coach like Eric Spoelstra, there's no way you can't call a timeout at the end of that game. Oh my God, that was so irritating.
Absolutely, and we haven't had.
I shouldn't even be this pissed off because the Celtics weren't even supposed to win this game anyway.
That's the thing.
They had the chance to just makes me even more angry. Yeah,
I mean, it comes down to execution down the stretch. It was not there tonight. I mean, you got to figure a lot of the games this year. I mean, when it's close down the stretch, we have seen the same lineup kind of for the Celtics, right? And Grant and Pritchard and those guys don't really seem to be finding themselves in late down the stretch, and I think that kind of came back to hurt the C's tonight. Like these guys, I mean, the rotation is thin in the last 6 minutes if it's a close game with Mazzulla, and I think you saw that tonight. I thought Tatum had a phenomenal first half. I was watching him and I was thinking, this is the MVP. This is right. He was playmaking great. His shot was falling. He was getting to where he wanted. He was getting to the free throw line. I thought the first half was great. For the Celtics. We led by 8 at halftime, I believe, 58-50. And then the second half, I mean, really that fourth quarter, the wheels kind of fell apart. We didn't really have an answer for the Heat's run, and Tatum got doubled, and Tatum threw the ball away, and we really haven't, I mean, he looked flustered. We haven't really seen that all year. I would be mad, but at the same time, can you really be mad coming off a 9-game win streak, shorthanded, second night of a back-to-back? I think frustrated would definitely be the word to categorize tonight. But Ian, there's just so many injuries, right?
I know. I shouldn't be this mad about it, but it was just it felt like they had it.
I mean, totally.
It would have been amazing for Tatum's MVP case too. You have half your team out. Your Brown, Smart, Brogdon, Horford. They talk about Tatum's depth. If he could have won with a roster that was basically nothing, that was practically a G League roster at the end of the game, that would have been great. But I shouldn't be this pissed. It's not like the Celtics are like they were last year, but it was just frustrating.
Yeah, it was one of those games where you look at and you just shake your head. It's a game I think a lot of these guys just want to forget. They're going to forget. It kind of does suck though. 9-game win streak. Obviously, the Magic. We've had our troubles with the Magic all year long. We dropped that one. They come to Miami looking for maybe to close out, maybe grab one of the two back-to-backs. We've been so good on back-to-backs this year, especially Tatum. He was averaging 34 points per game on second nights of back-to-backs, which is very impressive. But, other than that, there's really not a lot to talk about. This is a quick show, guys. I mean, we're really just coming in, checking in, giving you guys our initial thoughts, reactions, because how much can you really take away from a game in which the Celtics had 4 of their 9 rotational players out? I mean, the C's were without Brogdon, like I said, Brown, Smart, Horford. I would have loved to see Al Horford play tonight. I know we don't play him on second nights of back-to-backs, but I mean, I think we could have made an exception, maybe rest him against New York when you have some more guys back in the lineup. I get he's old. I get you're trying to save those legs, but dropping 2 in a row is more frustrating than just dropping 1. And I think if you give us Al Horford in the lineup tonight, we squeeze out the win.
Honestly, I really don't understand why Al didn't. I honestly thought that Al shouldn't have played against Orlando.
Yeah,
and Rob,
I think you rest him on the first night of the back-to-back.
I really thought that if you didn't play Al or Rob, like let's just say you didn't play both of them, let's just accept the loss. It happens. Let's move on to Miami, where you have both Horford and Rob. I feel like that would have been better than just, I know you want to space out their minutes, and I know they're coming off injuries and age and all that stuff. It's just like, it's just frustrating when you get. It's like when you're put in that situation.
It's like another one of those things where it's like when you're looking at the schedule, you should see the matchup against Miami on the second night of a back-to-back on national television as their focus game. I think what Missoula was trying to do was like, I'll send Al 50 for half the game and then Rob for the other half of the back-to-back. Kind of give them each one game to kind of get into the groove. But I mean, listen, when you're playing on national television, you want to give the media something positive to talk about the Celtics about. You don't want to give them a loss. And I get it, you're trying to save and rest, but a game when you're missing 5 starters against Orlando isn't going to be talked about. Let Brown, let Tatum go out there and play. But I mean, even with no Jaylen Brown, I mean, if he isn't 100% healthy, you rest him in those games against Orlando because you're not looking to see anything against those types of teams. If you drop one against Orlando, that's okay because that's not a game that you're playing with expectations on. And I think that's where my frustration lies right now with the Celtics. It isn't that you lost tonight. It's I think we kind of managed these injuries really poorly, and we've been healthy outside of Rob. We've kind of really haven't had more than one guy out of the lineup at a time all season. And since Rob's been back, we've been pretty good, but it's kind of looking, Ian, like we're going to have up until the All-Star break, we're going to be with short-handed. So these guys have to be ready not only just in the third quarter or in the second quarter, but they have to be ready to play big-time minutes down the stretch. And I think the Celtics just lack of inexperience tonight lost it. I mean, when was the last time Pritchard and Grant and Hauser were in the playing in the last 5 minutes in a game in which the Heat are knocking on the doorstep, right? Like we haven't seen that all year with them.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I know you're not supposed to be mad at. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm not mad at the loss. I'm just mad at the fact that like. It feels
like how we lost.
Exactly how we lost. And it felt like we could have managed the way that we were talking. Like you said earlier, we could have managed these injuries a whole lot better. If we knew we weren't going to play Jaylen on the second half of this back-to-back, why is he playing in Orlando and not playing
on national television, right? Like
you want your best players to be available in Miami. And I know, I really don't care about Orlando. I really don't. Like, we could lose to Orlando again. We could have gotten swept by Orlando this year. I don't care.
Yeah,
your guys aren't going to be healthy for the biggest games of the season, and you want to manage their injuries. At least manage them to where your best players are playing in the biggest games of the season because Miami is one of your biggest games of the year. The Celtics are on primetime out of their next 10 games. They're on primetime 8 times out of the next 10 games.
Yeah, you want this team healthy.
Exactly. You want them healthy. You want your best players on the court.
Yeah,
and
totally.
It's just one of those things that's just frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you got to go back and you got to kind of look at Missoula, and he hasn't experienced injuries yet, right? I mean, obviously, there's more to it than Joe Missoula. There's the training staff. There's all that. But, you said it perfectly in like, you're not looking a game against Orlando. One, there's no standing implications, right? I mean, we're 8 games over Miami right now, which is a significant lead. But if you were to pick a game in which Miami or Orlando, you should be saying, all right, how can I optimize? Right, like the game against Orlando is when you want guys like Hauser and Cornette and Justin Jackson getting their minutes. That's when you want them playing because one, that's a very winnable game against Orlando. Two, it's if it comes down to the stretch, that's the competition's a little bit more leveled against Orlando than against Miami. They can execute better down the stretch. It's better experience when you throw on the road in Miami on prime time. They're going to be all over the place. You're not setting them up to succeed. I think that Mazzulla should have noticed that. He should have sat Brown, sat Horford, sit the house against Orlando, and let them kind of get an extra night of rest, and then have them go down to Miami rested and well. And obviously, in the long run, we're going to look back at this loss and think to ourselves back in April, God, I wish we beat the Heat. Probably not. I think the first half we're sniffing a Jason Tatum MVP stamp game, but we didn't really get that, and that's okay. But I think now our focus shifts to Thursday night against the Knicks. I think that's a really big game, Ian, on national television. Again, you don't want to drop two straight on national TV. Obviously, now we're going to be 3.5 games up on Philly, which isn't a whole lot. It's not little, but it's not a lot. It's they're in striking distance. So I think you have to. I think New York is now a must game. Do you think so? A must win, rather.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's a must win game. I mean, again, you're on prime time again. You want to win this game, and I mean, I know it's January, but you want as big a lead as you can going into the end of the season. Because you don't want another situation like last year where you're fighting and struggling to try to, just get into the playoffs and try to maintain a high seed. You want to have some separation to where in situations like this, if there is injuries, you want the chance as much as you can to rest guys. And that's the problem that we're kind of facing here is that you kind of want to win as much of these games as you possibly can. And games like tonight are going to be, maybe implicated later on where it's like, maybe because we didn't win this game against Miami, we're going to have to play Tatum and Brown an extra game or, stuff like that. It's just kind of annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really what it is tonight it's annoying. It really isn't anything else. It's just an annoying loss. And I think that's, as Celtics fans, what you have to look at and accept is that you're going to drop into long season. You're going to drop some annoying ones. You're going to get injured. I mean, you look at any team in the Eastern Conference right now, Sixers were without Harden. The Bucks have been without Middleton. Brooklyn's now going through time without KD. Cleveland's going with time without Mitchell right around now. Miami's been they've been banged up all year. So it's like, I think with Boston right now, we have been so great at being next man up all season, right? These guys have been great, and their opportunities are still going to be there, but it's next man up for 48 minutes. I think that's the thing. That's the key here is that, listen, you have to be making winning plays down the stretch because, like I said, we were up by 10 with 6 minutes left, and the Heat came knocking, and we just fell apart and collapsed. It kind of looked like how we were last year. I think that can show you a difference that players like Malcolm Brogdon and the guys that we have added and have made to this team because this was a very 2022-esque Celtics type of loss. I'm not pushing the panic button at all. I'm not worried, but you got to look at this and be like, it makes you appreciate what we have a little bit more, I think. And at the end of the day, that's what we have here for the Celtics. I got a big one against New York back at the TD Garden, 7:30 on TNT. You can catch us live here. We should have Justin back for that game. We'll have you covered for post-game live after the final buzzer sounds. Like I said, short one here. The Celtics are so short-handed. We don't got a lot to talk about.
I think I want to say something else. And I saw NBC Sports Boston talk about this beforehand. They're like, the Celtics don't need to make a trade. They're perfectly fine with the way the roster is. I don't think that's right. I think the Celtics need another trade. I think they need another piece. They need another big man. They need another guy. They need another forward. They have plenty of guard depth. They need another guy, another forward to where if we're in this situation again later on in the season where Horford and Rob are still injured, you need another guy that's serviceable at least.
You know what, Ian? This might have been the game where I know we said just the other night, me and Justin did at least in that win against Toronto, We said that this was the Peyton Pritchard stamp game where he's not going to get traded. Report came out today saying that Stevens is hesitant to make a trade for trading Peyton Pritchard because of team chemistry. That is something that you have to look at. But, at the same time, the bench wasn't good at all tonight. The bench had 10 points. 7 of those came from Luke Cornett, and 3 of them came from Justin Jackson. I think you have to look at Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser has been god-awful from beyond the arc over the past 40 games. He's 0-5 from 3. Started off the season great, has been cold ever since. So, I think you raise a valid point moving forward. I think if I'm the Celtics, though, how do you optimize bringing players in without sending players out? I think you have to really use picks to your advantage, use the buyout market to your advantage, because I think team chemistry really plays a factor down when you're making a playoff push. And I would hate to see us shake things up too much and cause some kind of put us 5 steps back instead of, moving us 1 step forward, 3 steps forward. But, those are all things you have to talk about. And I wouldn't be shocked if you start to see some headlines of Celtics. I think you could see Jakob Polo. I would love us to see him make a move for Cam Reddish. I know the New York's asking price is 2 second-rounders, I believe, or a second-rounder. I would love to see that. So definitely some moves can be made coming up here, Ian. But like I said, short one tonight. C's shorthanded. They drop one out in Miami, 98-95. JT was your when is he not 31 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists for the MVP candidate. Celtics drop both games in Florida. They'll look to get right back at it. Celtics versus Nick Thursday, January 26th. We'll have you covered here live after the final buzzer, guys. I'm Rob. Next to me is Ian, and we will see you in the next one. And go.